All right, so hi everybody. I'm Dan Hughley. I'm the US Marketing Manager for Focusrite, and this is our presentation, which is going to be a little bit different. It is called Uplifting Podcasters the Focusrite Way, and I have a brief framework of how this is going to go, but some of you saw the video yesterday, but some of you did not. So to give you a brief overview, last August, I had the idea to partner with as many prestigious podcast companies as I could. And my goal with that was to award deserving podcasters with a complete podcast studio makeover. And after a lot of time planning and getting 9 companies together to provide prizes to the winners, we kicked off the contest at PodFest, which was the last in-person podcasting event before I got locked down for 6 months. Entrance, or not just me, it's not me, it's all of us. I'm being very selfish here today. So we had several hundred entrants submit a sample of their show and a video pitch, and we had a lot of great submissions. It took me a couple of months, and it took me longer than I wanted it to, but it happened. So I had to deliberate with all the partners after narrowing it down, and we chose 3 winners and also 3 runners-up. And I connected with the winners on a Zoom call with the guy with the premise of I needed a little more information from them. So I totally tricked them, even though they were the winners. Didn't tell them that at first. So I put together a video clip, a video with clips from their pitch videos, as well as their reactions when I told them that they won. And I'm going to play that for you now. I'm going to share my screen here. QuickTime Player. Uh-oh. Looks like it started without me. And let me make sure. Oh, you know what? I need to make sure that my sound. Again, totally my first Zoom call. Sorry, guys. Where'd it go? Oh, now Zoom disappeared on me. Oh, man. Oh, there it is. QuickTime Player, not Zoom. I was looking for QuickTime Player. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that. Someone just wave at me if you can't see and hear this in just a second.
Hi guys, welcome to my podcast studio.
Oh hey, welcome. I'm so glad you could make it today. Welcome to my office.
What's going on, Focusrite? Matthew and Sarah Bivens here, hosts of the Doing It at Home podcast.
Doing It at Home is a podcast about home birth, inspired by our own journey to home birth.
My name is Jerica, and the name of my podcast is called Black Packing. I started it in May of last year.
I'm Melanie Scroggins. I live in Austin, Texas. Do you want to see my studio? I thought you might.
This is actually our original studio, so we started recording from our bed.
Yep.
And since then, we've moved it over to our studio, which we'll show you in a second.
Here's my mixer and my microphone, and my stand is a little broken there. So definitely in need of some new equipment.
So I started interviewing people about their stories and just a bunch of different things that they wanted to tell me, and it turned into my podcast.
So I started the podcast because after traveling, doing a lot of traveling, mostly solo traveling and backpacking for an extended period of time, I thought I should start a podcast about this. And I wanted it to be from a person of color's perspective. And I love doing my podcast. I would love to have some new equipment. So if you guys could hook me up, that would be great.
So we believe that you should choose us because our podcast, Doing It at Home, really is about the families that we serve and talk to.
And when the severity of the coronavirus hit us here in the US, us podcasters came together stronger and more determined to innovate. There was one statement that stood out to me in one of these conversations, and it was, if there's any group of people that can help us navigate these difficult times, it's the creators and the artists. And that's what we are, and that's what I am.
Hi.
Hey, Jerica, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
How's it going?
Awesome.
Fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How would winning this contest change your show?
One, it would give me like the confidence to continue to be like, wow, like other people see something in my podcast enough to like help give me more tools and resources to keep it going. So that's like the biggest thing.
The level that Focusrite produces as far as their products is top notch. And I just think that it would increase just that level of I get excited about tech. And so getting even more excited to record each episode and excited to share it with everyone else. I think tech is just kind of a vessel to do that.
And one of the things that I hear, which annoys the hell out of me, man, is the up and down inconsistency with our sound quality. It's been all over the board.
I'm happy to say that you have won this contest. There was a...
Man.
It's like when you cue the streamers.
Yeah, I know.
Confetti.
Thank you so much. You rock. This is, wow. Cool. I don't know. We're a little speechless.
Yeah, it's downhill from here now the rest of the day.
Yeah, right?
You are one of the winners.
Oh my gosh, Dan. Thank you.
Congratulations. You're one of 3 winners, and I've spoken to the other 2 this morning.
Well, congrats to the other winners too. This is so exciting. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
You have won this contest. A lot of people love your show and what you're doing, and let me be the first to congratulate you.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. You just changed my world.
No, we didn't do it. You did it yourself. You earned this. All right. Congratulations to the winners. Every time I watch that video, and I put that video together, every time I watch it, I still get chills and a huge smile on my face, because this is like the completion of a journey for me, and it makes me so happy that we were able to help out these 3 podcasters. So I would like to formally introduce each of the 3 winners of the Focusrite Podcast Studio Makeover Competition. I'm going to start with Jerica Johnson of Blackpacking. If you want to say hello, Jerica.
Hello.
Melanie Scroggins of Creator Speak. If you want to say hello. That's not me. It's the other Melanie.
I'm Melanie, and it's nice to meet everybody.
I'm the imposter Melanie. I'm not really sure how that happened. I clicked on the link in my email, and that's what I got. And finally, the 3rd winner, Sarah and Matthew Bivens of Doing It at Home. Oh no, we can't hear you. Oh no. We've lost Matthew and Sarah. We can see you. All right. We have you there. I'm not really sure. You're not muted. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe check your audio settings, and I will, oh, nope, I didn't hear anything from there. Okay, cool. So we don't have a whole lot of time. We got about 21 minutes, and all the podcasters in the world know that you think you have like 2 questions to ask somebody, it's going to take you, just a couple minutes, but 21 minutes with me just keeping on rambling on like this in between is going to go really fast. So I'm going to start with the real Melanie and ask what your favorite podcast is.
Oh man. So my favorite podcast and the one that really inspired me to even start podcasting, the reason we're here today, is Radio Lab, hosted by Jad Abumrad and recently Robert Krulwich of WNYC. They're essentially that, Radio Lab. They're experimental podcast, investigative podcast out of New York, and they're fantastic.
Very cool. Jerica, what is your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast is Still Processing. It's one of my favorites. It's just about like pop culture and just entertainment, and the guests are awesome, and I really relate to them.
Very cool. Do we have Matthew and Sarah? Can we hear you?
Can you all hear us?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, we did it. Awesome.
Nice.
Your favorite podcast? It can be 2. You guys get 2.
Ooh, I'd have to say Stuff You Should Know. That was kind of my first podcast I started listening to, and it's a great one for when we go on our family road trips, and Matthew introduced it to me. So, and they're Atlanta folks, so yay all around.
Nice.
Same thing for me. That definitely got me into really listening to podcasts hardcore. and I still listen to them today.
Staying with you both, and I kind of know the answer. I know the answer to this question, but you have a really cool show doing it at home. It's about home births. How did you get the idea to start your show, and how long have you been podcasting about it, or podcasting?
The idea really started with our own journey into home birth, and we felt like as we were going through that experience, we didn't know anyone around us who had gone through that experience, and we didn't see any resources for it. And Matthew had some of the wherewithal and podcasting knowledge, having podcasted prior to that. And so we thought, this is a really great opportunity to share our story and how it could inspire or help others in the way that we could really use some of that. So it was really a paying it forward, and that was in
That was in 2016.
Yes.
And we launched the podcast on September 9th, 2016. That was 2 days before our daughter was born.
Oh.
So they have a very similar birthday. And what really took the podcast to the next level was when we decided to interview other home birth parents and families. And, that was almost 300 episodes ago. So it's been an awesome experience.
Nice. I had 2 follow-up questions, but you just answered them for me. I was going to say, when did you, I was going to ask when you started and how many episodes, but 300 episodes, that's incredible.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to Jerica next with the same questions. How did you get the idea to start your show, Blackpacking? And how long have you been doing it?
So I got the idea after taking a backpacking trip through Central Europe for 10 days.
Nice.
And it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. And I have like a lot of crazy stories that I share on the podcast of how I kind of like came up with the idea and the name specifically. And I started it back in May of 2019.
Cool.
So yeah.
Awesome. And how many episodes are you in right now?
I've done 26 episodes.
26. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And the real Melanie. Yeah. How did your show Creator Speak? And you have a couple of shows, and you also do some voice acting as well. How did you get the idea to start your show? I know you work with a partner on that. And how long have you been podcasting?
Yeah. So Creator Speak, the one that I use for the entrance, I do by myself. And that was it was a limited series. So I only have 10 episodes. But I started creating that in the summer of 2017 and just started thinking of different ways that I could have really deep but meaningful conversations with people I knew and people I didn't know. And it was all centered around human emotion. And so I would pick an emotion and kind of like poll people that I knew and have them recommend people that they thought would be interested in talking about those things. And then we would just have a conversation. And I really did follow kind of Radiolab's footsteps, and I would record the episode and then go back and kind of like give an expose on the show in between the interview. And so it just became kind of this like personal narrative, like storytelling podcast based on this individual's journey and like what their experience has been like with that emotion. And then I got to have these other conversations with like professors, and I'm from the Austin area. And so a couple of them at like UT, and then like my husband who hiked the Appalachian Trail. And then all of a sudden I was having these conversations with these people who are doing these amazing things in the world. And it turned into Creator Speak.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know your husband hiked the AT. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's one day.
Intense.
Jerica, is that on your list as well, to hike the Appalachian Trail?
To do the whole thing, no. I've done. I actually really want to do the PCT, but I've hiked some of the AT.
Sure.
But I don't have a desire to do the whole thing. No.
Me neither.
It's because I'm from the East Coast, and I've like spent my whole life just like driving up and down the East Coast. I'm very familiar with it, but I'm not as familiar with like the West Coast. And I just think I would enjoy doing the PCT more.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the landscape on the PCT looks like after this fire season.
Oh yeah.
And I should have pointed out, if that's all right, that Jerica and both Sarah and Matthew, you're from the Georgia area.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So you're both from the same area, which is great. We and I believe I met all of you at Podfest, which was really cool. Very awesome. So what are some of the challenges? And I'm gonna, since I was just talking to Jerica there about hiking, what are some of the challenges that you faced as a podcaster when you first started out, and then as you continue down your journey?
So the first episode, I originally planned for the whole podcast just to be me like, telling stories. And after the first episode, I really liked it. And then I was like, there's something missing. I need something more. And then I was like, I'm going to interview one of my friends and see how it goes. And I interviewed him and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is how I want to do my podcast. Just like bringing someone else on. So it's just me for the most part, but the biggest challenge is it being just me, having to like produce all the episodes, like find people to interview, come up with questions, just constantly coming up with new material, and then at the same time promoting it as well, because I'm just kind of like, oh, it's like this thing that I do, and all of my friends are like, oh, you need to do this, like you should do this, like they're really like kind of like my promoters, because I'm like really bad at self-promotion, and so I'm trying to get better with that. So it's just like, you know, taking it more seriously and having a good schedule of like releasing episodes and like posting on social media about things, on top of recording an episode and doing the editing and listening to it over and over and over and over again. But you know, I love it.
And Sarah and Matthew, I'm suspecting you had some very unique challenges since you launched 2 days before your daughter was born at home. So very interested to hear and how you covered the birth of your daughter without us hearing that show, for those of us that might have missed that episode.
Yes. So unique challenges for sure. How we documented the birth experience was really beautiful. It was actually the three of us sitting in bed together just a few days after she was born. We had the recorder in between us, and you can hear her kind of cooing and making sounds in the background. And it's really magical. But then moving forward, you know, do we keep this thing going, and what does that look like? It was very interesting in terms of scheduling time to interview. Our first round of interviews, we had a baby monitor to the side of the computer. And when that thing went red, Matthew had to duck out, and I had to conduct the rest of the interview and those birth stories that we were sharing. So just sheer scheduling and timing and passing a baby back and forth, especially during those first 6 months, was a challenge.
Yeah, and this was the third podcast that I had done by the time we launched doing it at home. So I already knew that, listen, we probably need to have a bunch of episodes in the can beforehand. So we had a nice stockpile. And then when the format did shift away from just Sarah and I to now us doing interviews, then there was all the logistics about interviews and scheduling and all that great stuff.
All
and
of that.
Yeah, we just kind of figured a lot of stuff out as we went along. And, you know, we were patient, and it was always a passion project. So there was never any urgency to hit any certain milestones. They've been wonderful as we've hit those different milestones. But what's been really great is we've been doing it for the community and for the audience. And so that kind of allowed us to just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Melanie, you as well. What kind of challenges have you faced throughout all of your shows that you've done?
Yeah. So I love what y'all were saying, you two, Sarah and Matthew, about it always being a passion project, because that's very much how it was for me. And it started as this just idea of, okay, I have this mic, I have this very old computer, and I've got a lot of time on my hands. Long story short, my husband was working for BLM, and we were in an RV in the coast of Oregon. And I was like, I want to create something. And I'd already had this idea, and I just thought, okay, let's try it. And so at first, I had like all of us, I would imagine, had no idea what to expect. No idea. I had been a podcast spectator for many years, and was just interested in trying to figure it out. And so when that started happening, I started realizing, as I know now, having been a producer for a few different shows, I was having, 1.5 hour, conversations with people, which is insane to edit. And it's a ton of work. So I was spending, easily 20 hours a week on my podcast, when it first started. And so I very much had to hone that in. Even though I had a little bit of time, I was still doing some other things. And so I was like, I can't spend all my time on this thing. But it kind of threw me in the deep end as far as learning how to edit, learning what I wanted, and creating what it was I had in my head was the big thing. Was I had this vision that I wanted to just totally figure out how to create, and just made it happen. So in a weird way, I didn't really have a lot of obstacles, because I just didn't even know what I was doing. And so I just kept trying things. But yeah, it was a great experience.
Almost like everything was an obstacle because you had no idea. You didn't know what you didn't know.
Yeah.
I have a great question from the audience, from the master himself, Dave Lee of International Podcast Day. He's asking, do you have a defining moment in your podcast journey? And I'll stick with you, Melanie, on that one.
Oh man, that's a great question.
It is.
I would say kind of to tail off that conversation we were just having, is when I was actually able to put it out there and people listened to it and thought, this is really neat, or I got something out of this, or like, thank you for sharing that story. And like, people were opening up to me and be very, very vulnerable about, emotion, like how we feel and how we interact with each other and how we react to one another and the things that go on in our lives. And I think that to me just solidified the very human aspect of what I was doing, in a way that I hadn't really thought about it up until that point. So yeah, that feedback, and then people being willing to talk to me. It was after a couple episodes, I was like, okay, like this is something that isn't just for me anymore. Like it's very much a team effort. Was really neat.
Awesome. And same thing, I'm going to go back to Sarah and Matthew. The defining moment in your journey. I'm sure, you've been doing it for a little over 4 years now. You probably have a couple of those moments and different benchmarks.
Yes, I would say so in various capacities. One that sticks out for me is we were out in public in the store one day, and a pregnant woman and her husband recognized us and walked up to us and thanked us for doing the show. And that was just very surreal. And it was just, everything kind of connected in terms of what we're really doing, and that it's greater than us, and that there are so many that are impacted by it. And so that was huge.
Yeah, and hearing the stories of people who've changed their careers as a result of listening to the show.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Folks who have gone from whatever they were doing to then become a midwife or to become a doula, or do some sort of birth-related work. That has always been amazing. And we had one listener send us a video of their young toddler humming our theme music. And I thought that was amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, you've listened to so many episodes that your baby is singing the theme song. So that was defining as well.
Sure.
That was the music they heard when they were in the womb. So
we've had that. We've had people who've listened to us while they were pushing the baby out. So yeah.
Wow.
Wild.
It's been wild.
And Jerica, when did you make that turn, and what was that defining moment for you when you knew that you really had something with your show Blackpacking?
I believe it was one of the first interviews I did that wasn't actually like a friend of mine. It was like a random person, and I did the interview with him, and I learned so much from him. And he was also like a podcaster and blogger, and just the conversation that I had with him was, I don't know, it was very, very special. And that was really what like pushed me forward and being like, I need to find more people like this guy. And I need to like keep having these conversations. And I think they're really, really important to have.
Fully agree. And I have to say, the first podcast that I ever listened to was also a hiking podcast. And when I was going through these and rating everything, because I got them down from several hundred to 12. And when I passed those 12 along to my manager, and I asked her to do something even harder and cut it in half, I asked her to do that. And I said, look, there's this show Blackpacking on here. I'm a hiker. I'm a backpacker. Just, let me know what you feel about that. And because, you had one of my votes, and she was like, yes, this is great. It's not just you because you're biased, so great. Congratulations to all three of you. I'm watching the time. We have about 6 minutes left. So I have two questions for you. I'm gonna stick with you, Jerica, on this one to put you on the spot really quickly. The first question is, what does winning this contest mean to you? And then plug yourself and let us know where people can learn more about you and your podcast.
Well, winning this contest has been huge for me. I feel like when I said like my world has changed, like the past like week and a half, I've just been like really excited. Like when I actually received the packages, they sat on my floor for a couple of days. I wasn't ready to like open it because it was so surreal, and I was just emotional about it. So I just like sat and like walked around these boxes like in my house for days, like not ready to like almost, I feel like I was like accepting like a new like podcast challenge, and being like, okay, like I really gotta be serious about this. I gotta start thinking of all these things and getting ready to start recording new episodes tomorrow for the new season. And like all of this has just happened within like 2 weeks, and it's all come at like the perfect time. So it's just been very surreal and just like a nice boost that I needed. And like I said, I like never win anything. And so winning this was like, what? And I'm kind of I'm out there all over the place. You name it, I'm there on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, Blackpacking Podcasts. Yeah.
Awesome. Going back to Sarah and Matthew. What does this winning this mean to you? And where can we learn more about you and your show?
For us, winning the contest was tremendous, and timing, it was so beautiful, because we're entering a totally new chapter of the doing it at home podcast, and how we approach it. Really looking to pour into our community and pour into the audience and everyone to a whole new degree. So winning this contest, I mean, literally, it takes the professionalism up to the notch at which we have been approaching the show. So now the equipment and the sound and the experience of it matches what Sarah and I, like, the vision we've always held. And I mean, we're sitting in our podcast studio right now. You can't see it, but like, it looks like a legit studio. I mean, it looks and feels like the studios that I've seen, the other podcasters who are in like the thousands of episodes, and the ones who are making the millions from their sponsors. I'm like, yo, you know what? We've got a studio that is right up there. So the look and feel of the show now matches where Sarah and our hearts have been since we launched this. And that's tremendous. We're very grateful for that.
And where can we learn more about you and your show?
Yes. So Doing It at Home is on every available podcast platform, as well as our website, diahpodcast.com, and Instagram, diahpodcast.
Very cool. And Melanie, coming back to you to ask the same question.
Yeah. So, and this is something that was really hard, I think, when you and I were first speaking, but what it's done is I'm a creator by nature. And so I'm always looking for the best way to do what I can with what I have. And this just gave me more to work with. And I'm always excited about tech. And so I was just freaking out. I'd used Focusrite stuff for clients before. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this now. And so it's really just allowing the opportunity to keep doing what I've been doing. And I'm launching a new show this fall, specifically about voiceover, which is my career, my industry. And so I'm super excited about that. I feel like it's a second chance for another show to really have its day in the sun. So I'm very, very excited. Thank you so much.
And where can we find more about you?
Yeah. So everything can be found on melaniescroggins.com, and then Melanie Scroggins on everything: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
And you're not going to get a hold of me. I promise
You're
you
done.
that. I am not affiliated with melaniescroggins.com. Although I got a text from Lulu. I don't know why Lulu's just ghosting us here. She's just down there, just watching over. But she said last time everybody's name was Dan Hughley, which it was. It was either Dan Hughley
funny.
or Joe Test last time, for some reason, through the whole presentation. But this time, I guess it karma. I don't get my own name this time, but that's fine.
Hey, it's not the worst name to have, right? Come on.
Exactly. We were talking about something similar the other day, and I said I don't mind. People can call me whatever they'd like. I'm not offended very easily. But the last thing I have to do, I need to thank all three of you for your time today and congratulate all three of you. But I also have to. None of this was possible without the support of the partners in this. So I'm going to name off all of those partners. We have Atom Audio, which is a Focusrite company. Heil Sound makes great microphones. Simplecast, the hosting platform. Hindenburg, which makes recording software specifically for storytelling and podcasting. I use it myself on both of my shows. The great people at Automute, they are giving each of the winners a $500 store credit plus consultation about sound treatment for their rooms. And if you haven't seen Automute, check them out. They make art into sound treatment. Nambagear gave each of them a really cool backpack. And then, of course, Squadcast hooked them up. And they each get an hour of coaching from the great Harry Duran.